Here's an approach I would take when I'm faced with a challenge, when I'm worried that someone has, for example, really lots of hair blowing in the wind or something, and I want to make sure I'm getting both a nice hard edge on the edges of her arms and body and legs and so on, but a nice soft edge on her hair. So let's go get a file. I've got this background, and as we well know by now, I'm going to bring the person onto the background first. It is a camera raw file, so I think I'm going to play around with some settings in here. I want to give my tools the best opportunity to select all of her hair, so I think I'm going to push the contrast and even the clarity a little bit. Click OK, and then we can collapse mini bridge. Let's see what we've got here. I think she needs to be just a little bit smaller, like she's in the foreground posing for us here. So once again, this is a Camera Raw Smart Object. Now the first thing I do is duplicate the Camera Raw Smart Object. Command or Control J. You can also do it through other means, but that's the keyboard shortcut for duplicate layer. And by doing that, now I have two copies of the same smart object. And what that means is if I update one, they'll both update. And that's going to be very important for us. So let's start off on this top one. I'm going to hide the other one. And I'm doing that so that when I start using Refine Edge, I can see through to the background. Now I'm going to use my quick selection tool, and all I'm really focusing my attention on here is her hair. Now another little tip for working with hair is don't worry about trying to get every little bit. The little pieces are ones we can get by using Refine Edge. So all I'm really doing is kind of going head and shoulders a little bit. I want to remove this part right here. That looks pretty good. Then I go to Refine Edge. So don't be surprised if it looks like a floating head out in space, because, well, it kind of is for now. That's because we have another copy of this layer we're going to use for the rest of her. But the advantage in doing it this way is, remember, I still have it set on Layers View. Let's click on Smart Radius and push it up really high and see what happens. And you can see it's picked up, look at that, it grabbed every little hair. Now it's doing some weird things to her arms, but that's okay, because those are the areas that we're going to add on here. So let's get just a little bit closer. I've got a really tiny brush in here, but look at that. You see it's even picking up the little small hairs that we couldn't even see before. So I just do a little bit like that. Let's switch our view to black and white for a second to look at the mask. Even though I see bits of gray here and there, that's okay. I can deal with that. What I'm really looking at is her hair and the detail it's getting. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to click Make a Layer Mask and click OK. Now let's leave that for a second and go to this one. Click on it and then show it. Now we're kind of doing the opposite. All I'm really worried about is her body and her arms, because we already have her hair. Still don't want this part in the middle though. And just to be sure, I'm going to make sure we have right up to kind of her neck there. Don't want this part, but I do want this part of her body. One little quick tip, by the way, is when you're making a selection before you go into Refine Edge, just press Q for Quick Mask, and that'll give you this kind of colored overlay, and you can see if you're missing anything really obvious. I do want to scroll down and make sure I'm not missing any part of her. That looks pretty good. All right, Refine Edge. We're still set on black. Let's go to On Layers. And again, it looks a little weird because we don't see her head, but that's okay. I already have that. I'm just looking here at her arms. That all looks really nice to me. So we choose Layer Mask and click OK. So now we have one layer with the layer mask for her body. When I show this one, oh, there's the rest of her. And I've got a really nice selection. However, the coloring and the contrast is a little bit off because remember we pushed those further so I could see what I was doing. So because this is two copies of the same smart object, I double click on either one of them, or either one if you prefer, and let's put this back the way it was. I think I still want a little more contrast than that. And exposure down just a bit maybe. Something like that. Perhaps maybe just put this clarity just a little bit to get some mid-tone detail a little bit. Click OK. It updates both of them and we have our little finished product. Now don't be surprised if sometimes this happens. You see that there's really no line around the outside in this view, but when I go to a scale down view I can see it. If you're concerned about that, and usually it's not a problem, but just in case, click on the layer mask and just add to it. Just make a marquee selection, fill with black, click on the other one, fill with black, and then just do that on each of them just to make sure we're not in fact seeing any, that those lines really won't be visible. So I just, on each case, fill with black. So overall that looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. I would look a little more closely, for example, in here. I really don't want gray in between her arm. In the next lesson we'll see how to deal with that. So I'm going to save this as a PSD so I can talk about it in the next session on fine-tuning a layer mask.